Christ above us, Christ below us, Christ before us, Christ behind us, Christ beside us, Christ with us. Amen. Please be seated. I don't know about you, but I could barely get through that sequence hymn today. I got a little choked up. What a blessing it is for me in this body to be here with all of you.
Amen.
And you know, I think what we hear today in the gospel is a sermon that we have all heard all of our lives. I got this quite frequently from my grandma. My brother and I were wailing on one another. Do to others as you would have them do to you. My elementary school teachers used to say it to me. I mean, it's something that we hear all the time. It's almost like the golden rule is embedded in humanity because, as we talked about on Wednesday night at Bible study, it shows up in every major world religion, in some non-religions too. Do to others as you would have them do to you. And that is a beautiful model of mutuality. But in that is like we've heard many other weeks in the gospel of Christ, is a radical revolutionary method. A radical revolutionary sermon, a radical revolutionary message. It seeks to undo some of the deepest structures that have kept humanity separate from one another. Some people would call this tribalism or sectarianism. Call it whatever kind of ism you want. Human beings have kept themselves separated from one another for any number of reasons throughout our history. And in Jesus' day, this was especially true. Your tribe was your whole identity. If you were a Roman citizen, you got rights that just about no one else around you that wasn't got. If you were a part of the Jewish religion, you lived within a diaspora, a community of people that held certain rules and laws and traditions. Among them, Sabbath. The one thing that got Jewish folks in trouble over all things was that they demanded a day off because God took a day off. So your tribe was everything. And yet along comes Jesus. And Jesus says, well, actually, you've got to do unto others the other, even people outside your tribe, as you expect people to do to you. And boy, that just knocks down everything. Now, the good news here is that Jesus gives us some hints at how we do this. He gives us some ways to do this hard work, because it is work to love your enemies.
Amen.
I sit here in a room full of folks who, like Dr. King, throughout their whole lives, in some ways, just to live their lives, have had to work really hard to love their enemies.
Amen.
And when you think of enemy as anyone who stands in opposition to you, anyone who gives you a hard time, anyone who was a pain in your neck, well, that definition gets a lot broader, doesn't it?
Amen.
I mean, we all have enemies, don't we?
Yeah.
Most of us don't want to do their harm, on our best days, of course. But we all have people who sit in opposition to us. And Jesus gives us some good hints on how to deal with them. Because this means everything in the gospel of Christ. First of all, he says that we've got to pray for those who hate us. Now, I'm just going to speak from personal experience here for a minute. And I don't say this to come off as being holier than thou, because I'm not. But a long time ago, a teacher got a hold of me and gave me this practice. Said, well, every day during your prayer practice, you need to have, as a part of your prayer practice, a short list of people you would consider your enemies. Now, I'm pretty sure I don't hate anyone. And if I still do, I got to work on it. I'm pretty sure I don't now. I hope that I don't, just like all you hope that you don't. But a lot of this has come about because of this practice. Make this list of folks, and when you do your daily prayer practice, whatever it is, you pray for those people by name. And it changes the relationship you have with them. It creates a connection between you and those people that cannot be erased. You have prayed for them. You have prayed that God turns their hearts, that God saves their souls, that God converts them into loving, good people. I don't know about you, but I got someone in our national life who I pray for every day. And I'm sure that all of you do too. Pray for those who might be your enemies or those who stand in opposition to you, and it takes away that separation that you have between them. The second thing that Jesus tells us, really, when he talks about giving away your shirt in addition to everything else, the lending to those you don't expect anything in return from, he talks about generosity. When you sit across the table from someone that you are in opposition to, it gets real interesting when we ask ourselves this question. Well, what can I do to serve them today? What can I do to be Jesus Christ to them today? Some days that's just not raising your voice.
Amen.
But if we ask that question, eventually God will open up a path towards our finding a way to be generous even to those who hate us. And when we find a way to be generous with those who sit in opposition to us, even if it is just through doing things like Dr. King did, practicing nonviolence, which is indeed a lot of work for him.
Amen.
We erase that tribal division that we have with the others. Now, the last thing that Jesus tells us gets kind of complicated, I think. He talks about turning the other cheek. And there's all kinds of versions of this, but the one that I like the most, and this will take a little reenacting here, so forgive me. Slapping was something that was a kind of punishment or abuse that was reserved for someone who was below you. And if I'm a Roman citizen or a Roman senator or some great highfalutin person, and I want to slap one of my servants or slap someone who's below me, I'm not going to slap them with my open palm from where I eat and write and do all kinds of stuff. I'm going to slap them with the back of my hand. Well, if I slap you with the back of my hand and then you turn the other cheek, I have no choice but to slap you with this side of my hand, which means that you have to treat me like an equal.
Mm-hmm.
You have to treat me like someone who is entitled to the same dignity and the same respect as you. And so I love this kind of mutuality here, where Jesus says, and you know, for the last thing, I don't think he's saying to let people hit us or abuse us, but he's saying demand respect from the other.
Amen.
We don't have to let them think of us as less than human. We don't have to let them think of us as less than them, because we are not less than them.
Amen.
And so see, in this is everything. In this is the crowning glory of the gospel. This erasure of tribal barriers between humanity. And this is hard work. Even Jesus recognizes this. One of the things I try to do every year around this day is read the letter from Birmingham jail. And the one thing that sticks with me from that, and the one thing I think people forget, and the one thing I think there's folks in here, I don't mean to date any of you, but I think there's folks in here who might have even been through this. But Dr. King talks about undergoing a process of self-purification before going out and engaging in civil action. Asking ourselves the question, do I hate those people? And dealing with the answer, if it is in the moment, yes. Finding our way to seeing their humanity before the encounter, holding them in our hearts as human beings. This is hard work. But in this is everything, friends. In this is our hope here in this church. In this is our hope as a nation. In this is our hope as a world. That we begin to see one another as God's children. No matter where we sit in the religious spectrum, no matter where we sit in the social spectrum, that we look at one another, even those people across the ocean from us who want to do us harm, we look at them and we stop seeing enemy, but we see children of God. In this is everything. It's not something that we just wake up and are able to do. It's something that we work at, but it's something that, with God's help, will continue to save us all. Amen.